Welcome, viewers, to Sulphurbath Talk Show, or Sulphurbath. Welcome to the Sulphurbath.
Welcome to the Sulphurbath.
Where tonight we will be discussing some things that are on our mind. We want to just bring everyone in on our minds.
Exactly,
tonight.
yeah.
So,
And we're going to be discussing some minds that are on our things as well. We have a lot of things with different people from history who've put their minds to our recordings and our YouTube videos and such. We're going to talk about culture and music and art.
I nearly understand where you're going with that.
Science.
I think we're off to a good start.
As long as it's on the board. It doesn't have to be a bullseye, right?
Yeah.
So we use a lot of dart metaphors here too, by the way. So gonna get started. So Greg, how are you? This is Greg Becker.
Good evening. Good evening.
Let's
If
do
you're
some
in other time
intros.
zones, good whatever time of the day it is for you. I hope. I am Greg, and I will be bringing my insights on things, and they'll probably be maybe a little bit weird. So that's all for me. You'll find out more as we go. So
Yeah, we're hoping for that.
Let me just pass it on down the line to Mike Wilson.
Yes, I'm Mike. Good to meet you guys.
TV's
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, TV's Mike. We're broadcasting live right now, so this is actually the second show we've done. Just kind of a talk show, but we like to play music and discuss art and science and all kinds of different things. I'd like to introduce Dan. This is Dan on our right.
Hello.
Dan.
Dan.
And
Hi, guys.
this is Dan Marco. He's going to be joining us tonight talking about science and working in a laboratory and doing research trying to cure HIV. Right? So, and also personally, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You personally had an interest in the topic.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to say?
Yeah, well, of course, I personally have an interest in it. I've lost more than one person to this disease. It's still rampant and even growing. As much technology and research has been done, the disease is still growing and still killing people, at insane rates. And yeah, so I have a personal interest in it. And, I've known you for a long time, and I know you as a musician and a good friend, and I know that you've done this scientific research at your laboratory. And so I think it's a cool opportunity to sit and talk and pick your brain about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's true. The rates are increasing in New York City among certain groups, and I assist with research, HIV drug development research, development of drugs to slow the spread of the virus, and it's a really sad. It's a sad epidemic when you have an increase and you lose people. And a lot of people right now believe that there's a cure for HIV, or there's a vaccine that exists, because there's a lot of news. There's a lot of examples in the news of certain individuals being cured of HIV, but those are just certain individuals who had certain circumstances that allow for that to happen. It's not as if there's a sort of a cure-all drug.
As if the cure is being held from the people or something like that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, there's no actual fix-all for all individuals. There's no vaccine yet.
Well, we'll certainly get into more of that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then here on my left we have Blaine Kneece.
Hey.
And
What's up, Blaine?
maybe you could introduce yourself as far as what you might be talking about with us tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just want to have a good conversation about things that I'm kind of passionate about in terms of like the history of comedy, where it came from, where it is now, where it's going maybe, and then what is the formation of a joke? What's it consist of? They say it's like dissecting a joke is like dissecting a frog. You learn a lot, but it dies in the process. So like,
Yeah.
so like we could talk about it, but hopefully not in a way that's just gonna get, not funny. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to keep it light.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
Excellent. Have some
So,
perspective
yeah,
on it.
We just we'll figure out what takes what makes it what it is,
Cool.
how it works.
Yeah, very good. I'm excited. This is a good show. This is
The
our second
science.
show. It's going to be awesome.
The
On one
science
side,
of
we
it.
have the comedy. On the other side, we have the science.
And in the middle we have who knows.
Who knows? Speaking of who knows, we should have a little beginning segment before we get to the heavy stuff, right?
No.
So
Who
what should?
does know?
Yeah, who knows? What should we talk about? Does anybody know? We have about a minute to discuss.
No.
Well, last night there was a supermoon. We mentioned this in yesterday's show.
Yeah.
So the moon was.
Now, have we determined whether supermoon is just a lame astronomical
good, yeah.
term to refer to the slightly larger moon than ever, but like we wouldn't be able to tell if we looked? Or was it like just suddenly bigger? Is it an actual supermoon?
I've noticed.
that
I
we had
specifically
yesterday?
noticed werewolves were 10% larger last night.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's part of the
mm,
supermoon
you know,
myth.
across
Yeah.
the board. So
Yeah.
that's one of the dangers of
Yeah.
the supermoon.
Or eat a werewolf
It
bar.
could
or
be
something.
very relative, is what you're saying.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I always was taught, the moon appears larger when it's on the horizon, right? So there's this optical illusion that happens, and as
Right,
it
'cause
rises,
the,
it gets
the
smaller.
lens.
So I'm used to people being like, "Oh, the moon changes in size because it's closer," and I'm like, "No, that's not true because I read a paragraph in a book." And
bragging.
but this is something different, right? This is
I
the
read a
ellipse of the
paragraph in
moon.
a
Is
book
that the
once,
supermoon?
guys.
The elliptical shape of its orbit, and so it comes a little bit closer to the Earth. Is that what we're dealing with?
Nah.
Yeah, that's what
I
Miko
think
was
it's
saying.
it's
Yeah.
partially the tilt of the Earth and
And
Moon
it looked
comes
pretty.
closer.
I've seen some photos. It looked
Or
nice.
relatively
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of
I think that's
So it's-
largely more contingent on
It's
how clear
kinda-
the night
it's-
was.
When you think about it, something we take for granted.
True.
The very
Mhm.
fact that we get to see something other than us.
Mm-hmm.
We also
So close.
Yeah.
We also
You know
get
what I mean?
so
Like,
close.
What
tides.
no billions of combinations of planets and stars and moons out there. And very few of them with living creatures on it get to see anything else except
Yeah.
for night sky.
Yeah.
True.
You know, we get to see a little something.
Yeah,
We
it's
have-
our
we
little
have this, like-
entertainer.
You know,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
it's the moon. I'll see you tomorrow.
It's like in
Yeah,
our
right?
it's in our solar
Maybe.
system family.
Yeah,
We're close with it. It's in our
Yeah.
unit.
and it changes. It's
Yeah.
like, ooh, I'm only a half moon
But it's
tonight.
totally stuck to us, you
You know
know.
what I
It's,
mean?
it's
Right.
it's in our gravity.
Yeah.
And
That's
just just the nature of it reflecting the sun, and it's like, you think about ancient man looking at the moon, right, and just being
Yeah.
like, oh, it's creating its own light. That's amazing. What is it? And trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta imagine, imagine you're
That's a weak ass sun.
this
Yeah.
probably flat surface, and then there are just these giant celestial bodies in the sky. That's got to be moving.
Yeah.
For you, as an ancient person.
Yeah, before you got lights in the city and everything, like
Like during
all you have is
sunrise.
the sky, and that's what you see every night, and so you're tuned to it, right? A little
Yeah.
bit, a little bit
Yeah.
more.
And also, we went there.
Yeah.
We've been there.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
In theory.
yeah.
We're flying through it right
You
now.
know, sure. We got there. and
We're
we put
in
a
it.
little flag up like a sandwich.
Yeah.
Hey, the moon's a BLT.
That's also to be contested, by the way. And so
Right,
maybe
right,
that's
right,
that's
right.
of course
That's what I'm
something
saying.
for another show, maybe. But of course, a lot of people deny that we made it to the moon, right? So that's an interesting thing. That's kind of a
It wouldn't be
tragic
too
comedy in
off
itself.
par, you know what I mean? Like, how many other things have we uncovered? I suppose, that the powers that be had falsified.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
we could believe one thing or another. Like, we were at a time where making it to the moon first was very important, and if we could not do that in reality,
Let me ask you
we
this.
would have faked it.
But let me
I
ask you
think
this.
that's positive.
What if you got there? Hey, I'm the first guy on the moon. Then you go back to Earth, and they're like, "No, you didn't." You're like,
Yeah, that
What?
that does.
then
suck
you
a
would
lot.
then
That
you
is
would
the-
punch a guy in the face for saying that, which
Exactly.
Armstrong
Yeah,
did
exactly.
at a
Like,
press conference,
what
right?
the- you're like, hey,
he
the
punched the
coolest
guy.
thing anybody on Earth has ever done, and now you're telling me I didn't do it? God.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, if he did it,
I get no respect at
That's
all.
frustrating.
if he did it, then
Yeah.
he could. I mean, I guess he would have to have the maturity
mean,
to
he
do so.
would
Be
wa-
like,
he
well,
walked
you know
off
what?
smug.
Fuck you. I've been to the moon.
Yeah, he walked off with an attitude. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. Rightfully so, you know.
Like people
don't
coming
believe
up
me,
to
I
him
don't
in
care.
public and be like, "Where's the proof? Like, show me," because it's a conspiracy thing now, right? It's
Yeah.
like challenged at
Yeah.
every step,
Yeah.
But
I'm-
either way, it exists in our thoughts as to basically it comes down to do you believe it or not, and
I don't think.
let's roll with it,
matters.
right? We've been to the moon. Yeah.
I don't think it matters either way. We believe the facts that we've been given. Either way,
Mhm.
it has shaped the world we live in socially. So
Mhm.
it is in fact something that enough
Yeah.
people believe happened that it happened in a sense.
Right. Socially, it's
I don't
concrete.
think people are worried that we went to the moon. Like if we went there yesterday, I could believe we could do that. But they went there in the late '60s.
Yeah.
And when you think
Stuff
back,
didn't
you're like,
work
I
back
can't believe
then.
they
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
I could believe we could do that.
They didn't even
I
have a
don't believe they could
Nintendo.
do
But think of how convenient it would be to be like, oh, we're gonna have this program, we're gonna put billions of dollars into it, and then how about just don't do anything, use that money for something else,
Mhm,
and then produce us being on the moon fakely. It's a very smart idea, even if it didn't happen.
Right, and you got to think that if they were to do it, there was so much on the line, right, that they should have had a contingency plan.
Yeah.
Maybe just a contingency plan could have been like,
Yeah, that's
fake it,
interesting.
and then we could show it if something goes wrong. And that brings up the question, which there are some authors out there that write about, that talk about, that it wasn't faked that we didn't do it. It's that we did do it, but we found something that humans couldn't cope with. You know, what if there was like ancient architecture on the moon or some shit like that they found, or, it could have been anything like that.
Monolith?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's Hoagland is the last name? Paul C. Hoagland, I think, is one of the authors that writes about that. But you start getting into moon's conspiracy stuff, and you realize the whole thing is fractured, and there's different actual theories about it.
But I mean, just mentally, how does man cope with the idea that we went there after millions of years of evolution and us like worshiping the moon and making it a deity and plotting its course over a month and figuring out its calendar?
Well,
it's something else, and then to go there, that like diminishes that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can see the people shying back from that, like, oh no, that's the moon. Like we shouldn't go there.
Yeah.
That's like Bob Dylan's License to Kill. Man invented his doom. The first step was touching the moon. Like it's like that. Like, how do we cope with that mentally after millions of years of evolution?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's just the moon too. You think about Spirit, Opportunity, Voyager. Voyager now is just about to leave the solar system.
We've got
the first man-made object to
now.
leave the solar system. And the rover's on Mars, and then we've shot shit into Jupiter. We dropped probes into Jupiter, and then like as they were descending into the pressure of Jupiter, they were still sending back images, you know, and like information. So we live in like a mind-blowing time of technology and possibilities for humankind.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Not only that, in terms of space, they say like space gets in about 1 trillion years, we won't be able to see the stars if we're still around. We won't be able to see the stars.
Oh, because everything's
all.
separating.
And we will have no way to measure any of this.
Yeah.
Any of the expansion. We'll have nothing to gauge our experience by. So we will truly live in a biblical time where there's just the earth.
How much time do we have before we have to figure out a way to...
We got a couple hours. We're good.
Right, tonight,
Trillions,
during
yeah.
this show, man.
It's about 1 trillion, maybe,
Couple
something like that.
billion.
So
more
the
than-
the technological trends
But the
would
sun
suggest we'd
is
find
going
a
to
solution
expand at the
before-
end. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, sun's got what, 5 billion?
Yeah, I
Right?
think about 5
Isn't it?
billion, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
going to expand, and it'll die, and it'll absorb the whole
Yeah.
solar system and burn it off. So, but that's the whole thing of like trying to get humans off the planet, find a
let's
new
get
planet.
outta here.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, not to be too down on humans, but I think we'll find enough ways to kill ourselves before 5 billion years.
I got
It's
faith
even
too.
close. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. 5 billion is like we're sure gone now. But like with asteroids and
Maybe
just
by
the toxins and what we're doing to the earth
maybe-
now.
But maybe by 5 billion, we're out of a corporal form. We're
Mhm.
Yeah.
maybe we're on our way.
That's possible. We could be electrons
That
in
was
the air at that
intense.
point.
I don't know if any of the viewers at home heard that, but there was
Yeah.
just like an F sharp or something
Yeah.
on the piano here.
Hmm.
And it added to the
Are you here with us?
creepiness and the essence of,
This house is clean.
Are ghosts aliens? Is God an alien? Are we aliens? None of us know. And we don't even know if we've been to the moon. But, really, I don't even know if I paid rent yet this month.
Call your landlord
yeah.
and
That's
ask if he was on the
Yeah,
phone.
hey, did you get the check last month? Was that check a month late or a month ahead?
Is that July
'Cause-
'69?
Yeah. 'Cause how long have I been living here? How long were you here? God. Okay, so
What year is it?
I think that was a pretty good opening intro. How are you feeling,
Oh,
Greg?
Yeah. I think that
We got into it.
I think that it still remains to be proven either way, and I don't care. I don't need it to be proven. I just
Oh
I
shit! Now
believe
we
very
got to prove
strongly-
the intro.
I
Gotta-
believe very
yeah.
strongly that
boy.
that the
Show
moon
your work.
landing could have been faked, and I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Let's decide that. Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, that's
So
a good
in,
take.
in summary, the moon landing, yes or no, pretty cool.
Yeah. It affects me about as much as
Plus-
Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Lady
So,
Gaga. True.
Lady
which isn't really that much. I see it on TV. People talk about it, and I say, "Yep, I've seen that on TV too."
I
might
think
not
it's
exist.
to the same
Yeah,
level
she
that we know it affects other
Was
people,
Lady
so we're-
Gaga a
we're
secret
concerned
government
with it
plan?
enough
This
to be aware of
moon
it.
landing happened.
But
Was I emphasizing the wrong ga this whole time? You're like
Lady
Gaga.
Lady Gaga. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what
Jeez.
I decided
like
to
an
say.
idiot.
Don't worry about it.
Everything Gaga.
It's pop culture, you know. It goes in waves, and
Lady
just
Gaga.
catch up next season.
I could see her insisting that though. It's Lady Gaga.
Gaga. And in fact, Gaga Black Sheep is how you have to call me.
Mm.
Have you any fur? Fur? Sheep don't have fur.
I don't know. She wore like meat one time, didn't she?
She wore some meat. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
seeing
not
that.
a
Shrimp, like fish,
representative
some
of PETA.
guts.
She had a list of like Salvador Dali paintings she wanted to turn into dresses.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
She should just wear the Dali painting.
Yeah, just wear a Dali painting.
Yeah, just
Put
wear
up the money,
painting.
Gaga, and get
Yeah.
an
I
actual
know, I
like
think
persistence
I
of
might
memory.
find that
You know.
one
Yeah. Oh my
offensive.
God, she's got a clock.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
She's
she's
got a
wearing
clock.
Dali.
So
think
and
his
wearing clocks
melting-
is cool. That's but Flava Flav kind of beat her to the punch on that.
He had a melting
Yeah.
Salvador Dali.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
inspired clock.
he had every
But
version of clock
That
on his
wasn't like
chest.
Flava Flav's thing. I mean, it was his thing, and it became his thing in the '90s when he came back. But I was looking at pictures in that Public Enemy album.
Uh-huh.
They're all wearing clocks inside.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the thing. It wasn't
Yeah.
his thing, but
remember
because
my
he
friend,
comes back.
But
in-
what did that symbolize? It was
in
like now's the
celebrity
time.
whatever,
Like
he was
Did
the
it?
one
I
with
don't know.
clocks.
Is that what the thing was?
that's
that?
well, I'm asking. Like, is it now's the time, or was it a
I don't
revolutionary
know.
thing? Like
I
the
remember
clock is
like
I don't
wearing
know.
something big on your chest was like the thing back in the day. My friend JJ had like a leather patch with like Africa with the African colors like striped on
Mhm.
it. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like wearing something big on your chest was like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think a clock was just already big, and it's something that you could wear.
He
I don't
just
know.
Took it
but
off his grandma's wall.
And you're like Flava Flav. I get it, man. I get the metaphor. The reminder
you don't have a
of
chain
death.
otherwise. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, like thanks for being so
the
poetic.
most subtle thing about Flav.
Yeah, he's like, "That."
Basically,
That's
Very
that's
thoughtful.
actually
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Wow. Can you go into more depth about that metaphor?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Okay, so we had to go there.
Well,
So
come
yeah, we did. So in essence, to sum up that whole segment, Flava Flav
on. Fight the
knows
power.
what time it is,
Yes.
and the moon landing could have been faked, but
Who
we're
cares?
past the point of understanding or caring.
Hey, you know what?
So I mean,
Either way, good on you.
yeah. Nobody's even talking about 9/11
Pretty
anymore.
much.
No.
You accomplished
So
what you needed to.
yeah.
Mass belief.
But nobody's even talking about 9/11 anymore. So you think of something that happened, 40 years ago, and it's, hey, that's off the charts now, right?
Yeah.
So
50.
we'll wait till that band gets back together and goes to the moon again on their reunion tour
Is that NASA?
to make money. No, one of these days, Armstrong and whoever's left from that crew.
NASA broke up.
Do a
Right
Space
now, so
Cowboys
broke
or
up.
something.
Armstrong's
Exactly.
dead, by the way. I think he just died, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Did he? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Armstrong.
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 I didn't know that.
Yeah. Coincidence?
That's
Maybe they kill him 50 years later.
yeah, right.
After he's lived a full life, nobody expect that.
Oh, yes.
One giant step for man,
Yeah.
a tiny leap for mankind.
Yeah.
So, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, Dan, what's up? I want to move it on over and talk to you a little bit. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah.
You brought up a little bit of your research at the laboratory earlier,
Yeah.
and some of the statistics, which are not looking good. It's really sad what's going on, and like at this day and age, how much research and how much money and how much technology is put into it, and still we're losing people by the thousand. It's an epidemic, definitely. And so, I'd like to drill you a little bit and say, what's the thing? What's going on at the lab, and how do you approach that? How do you do research, and what are the specific avenues to try to cure such an epidemic?
Well, before you try and answer all of those questions, because that's a whole ton.
Yeah, I'm going to
Wh-
ask you
what
all
do
the
you-
questions at once, and then you
At
can.
What
once.
you
What
can
are
go
you
from there.
doing at your lab? So
Yeah.
what is exactly is the purpose of your study that you're involved in right now?
Okay. Yeah. I'm a research assistant in a HIV drug development research lab.
Mm-hmm.
So that the goal is to develop an HIV drug.
Like
there's
an
lots of-
AZT or something like
like
that?
an AZT.
Is
yeah.
it to treat people who have it already, or is it to? It's not a vaccine of any type. It's for treatment with
Right,
people who
the-
already have contracted it.
Yes, exactly. It's not a vaccine. It's that is a common avenue for HIV research is to
Look for a vaccine.
develop a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
It's proved to be very challenging. There's no one who's achieved that yet. But then there's the constant search for new drugs because the virus changes its genetic makeup in response to the drugs that are on the market and in response to the immune system itself.
It adapts really quickly,
It
right?
adapts very quickly.
Yeah.
It's and so there's a lot of genetic variability among the virus, different strains, and I won't get into the technical details, but suffice to say, it's very it's still at large. There are a million, I think, around a million infected.
And how many
Depends on the
different
source, who you get the information from, but
how many different strains might there be out there?
more than that.
I mean, is
There's-
it like in the thousands? Is it in the hundreds?
From the HIV one, there's, oh yeah, I mean, as far as genetically identical, yeah, there's thousands that are not identical genetically, but then there's subgroups,
Right.
and then there's they're being cataloged by NIH, National Institutes of Health. It's,
And are more developing
federal.
right now? Like, are more strains
Yeah,
because of adaptation to new
Yeah.
drugs, like the drug that you're developing?
and the
Is
strains
it
that
gonna
are
is it
cataloged
always
are
gonna be a
changing.
back and forth like that? Like, we'll develop a new drug, and then AIDS, so to speak, we'll develop a new AIDS, and then you develop a new drug, and it goes back and forth like that, like a
Yeah.
battle.
It's kind of like that. It's not a one-to-one thing, but yeah, I guess when we do research, for instance, we're cataloging all these different strains and how the drug we're developing inhibits them. How well, to what degree they're inhibited by our drug. It's not a drug yet. It's just a compound.
Has the compound been developed, and now you're testing its effectiveness in this particular stage of your study?
Yes, it's a constant. So the compound will be tested among other control compounds, and based on the results, the compounds, plural, are modified.
Oh, so you have
So we have-
multiple candidates for
yeah,
compounds?
Do you do
Yeah.
trials? Like you
Mm.
basically
Yeah, we have
do your trials like you have a version of it, and then you have like a test group,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
and you
yeah.
basically give them the medication, and you monitor. How do you monitor their
Oh, okay.
like what is their progress?
I'm sorry. I should have said from the onset of this talk that it's not actually with people. None of the
Really, what's it with?
the research is being done with people yet for this particular drug. There
Yeah.
are drugs in clinical trials where they test it on people who are infected.
Yeah.
But as of now, this catalog that NIH has put together of HIV strains comes from patients. So we're taking the actual we're testing the drug against strains that have come from patients, or primary isolates as they're referred to. So we're doing that in vitro, so in cells in the lab, but we haven't started working with animals or testing animals,
Really?
mice. We haven't done that, and
But is that something that's within scope, though, that you're leading up to? Like, there's this grand process.
within 5 years time, that and that's the other thing that's going to slow the progress of HIV research is there's less. It's harder for people to get grants from the government right now than it's been in a really long time because of, our fiscal state, and so it's messing up a lot of government-funded sectors in our culture, in our country, and that's one of them. These are the things we have to live with, but.
How would you say it's going then? Like, how is the compound you're working on? I understand if you can't say anything about it.
I don't want to say too much or anything, because I think the organization that I work for has very strict guidelines.
Yeah,
about
we
talking
of course
live
don't want you
about
to risk
stuff.
any of that. Yeah,
So I have to
strictures.
I have to
Mhm.
leave all that out. But
But in a general sense, how do you feel like in application now that you are experiencing firsthand this kind of research and development, in the application in society, and really dealing with such a potent disease, and how are prospects in general? Like, how do you feel about how we're treating and trying to cure the disease?
I feel that for all diseases, it's always increasing as long as the research is being done. The experiments are being done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have to get the funding for that. But I feel like as long as that continues, there's always progress. And so the new treatments are going to be, and they have been, more effective and more targeted towards HIV, towards any genetic disorders, through genotyping of the patient and using the most modern drugs that target those genes. It's become, definitely the technology is there. It's advancing all the time.
So you would say, maybe this is a leap, and I'm putting words in your mouth, but would you say that if there was more money being put into it, we could get these things done faster? Because now it's really just the sake of time, and the technology's there, and we have to do stuff with it. We have to test it so we can use it.
I'm no expert on that, on like the progress that's being made, but I'd say that, only certain things can get funded, and there's probably a lot of projects that lose funding that we don't know what they could have achieved. So
right.
But
how do you? Let me ask you this: how do you feel about it? How do you know what I mean? Like as a job.
Oh, it's hard.
How no, but like like on a on that level, like do you feel like when you get there, you're like I'm doing something good? We're almost there. Like, what is the atmosphere like? Is there? I'm just kind of curious as about the actual job. Like, what's the feeling? Is there tension? Is it like you're all working for a goal?
Yeah, I feel like that's there among most of the people I work with, and I try to keep it in mind too. But of course, there's days where it's just a job because I have to focus on the technical aspects of performing the job, and that's just any job, like you just have to. It's like flipping burgers. Just have to do it the same way every time, and that's what it's like being a lab technician. It's a lot of that. But then when you stop and think about the disease and everything, and you're like, gee, I really hope that this actually does something someday, then it's a good feeling. But I feel like my boss tries to instill that in all of us, the principal investigator, the PI of the lab.
And speaking of that, not to get too speculative, but hopes and prospects for the future. What do you think about like new advancements in other technologies? Now we're finding that it's going from specialization to a lot of different fields merging their studies and their research and development and creating new ways to interact. And you think of things like nanotechnology, for example, and how that could like change AIDS and HIV research. Like, is there anything on the horizon like that you think about that's maybe something to watch as like a rising technology that might affect your industry?
You got me there. I'm sure there is nanotechnology being developed. I'm not sure how much money's been thrown at that right now, but HIV is people are thinking of creative ways to use HIV. They're thinking about using it as a way to cure cancers.
I saw that.
Oh wow!
I've seen it where it actually has worked.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that
And
recently too.
No kidding.
That blew my mind.
Using HIV to fight cancer.
It's common to use
Wow.
retroviruses to get certain genes to plug into the genome of the patient, and that's a common practice. Gene therapy.
Yeah,
So
they were
that's
using them to like
essentially the same.
to basically go in and create cells that would attack cancer. And they were saying that the HIV was uniquely useful in that manner because it was so capable of invading. And it's just a very strange thought because it is so capable of invading. That's why we're having such an issue with it. But at the same time, we're finding something, opposing about it. We're finding something
that's
very
amazing.
useful.
Like the ingenuity behind that and trying to develop something like that. And I think that we can work on that level with things we can't even see. That's it's just mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. The literature that supports the research is vast, and it's expanding obviously in time. It's always growing. So there's a lot to draw from. There's a lot of that happening. Targeting of the tumor cells. They create cells that become serial killer cells and target tumor cells, and that's one of the that's the primary function of the virus instills that function in or confers that function in killer T cells, and so they seek out tumor cells and destroy them.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
I think they said one T cell can kill 100,000 tumor cells.
Oh, really?
So it's very effective, but I don't know. We'll see how that works out, in the future.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. And like the work that your company does, like developing drugs. I personally had a friend recently who shared with me his experience, like fighting and basically beating cancer, and it was all basically on this new experimental drug. He had pancreatic cancer, and he had metastasized tumors, and they were giving him this new drug, and it basically denied the tumor's blood, and it shrank the tumors down until they were insignificant, and they're basically just gone now because they specifically targeted the tumors. And this is happening right now. This is how long ago was it Jobs died from the same cancer?
Yeah, it's got to be a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah,
crazy.
Almost.
and now they're actually working on if he had more time, they might have been able to do something. But I
good
want
to
to talk to you.
speculate on
This
that.
kind of stuff is amazing. And as humans go forward in technology, there's questions like, what do we use the technology for? And relieving human suffering and disease.
Don't you
I
feel
think
like-
is one of the most noble, of course.
Don't you feel like we made progress though? Like I remember when I was a kid and AIDS struck,
Yeah.
and it was just like instant death.
Yeah.
Like it was just like
Yeah.
that was like it was like the plague. I
Mhm.
remember like really being scared with us, and then like Magic Johnson announcing that he had it. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, someone famous.
Yeah, and
has
everyone
it.
being like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
he's certainly dead now."
And he's still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like fine. Like it's just such an amazing thing. I feel like he's got. I mean, obviously the wealthy have more access to
no
to
way.
the newest and best medications, but I feel like there's like it's better than it's ever been.
Yeah. Well, similar to Magic Johnson, I should mention, even last night's episode was dedicated to my good friend and brother, Greg Slovak, who recently passed away. He suffered from HIV and dealt with it for 24 years. And dealing with it that long and going through all the different phases of research and drugs and just this long history of suffering in the face of this disease and, fighting it and surviving. And, I lost him just recently, and I'm very sad about that. And, last night's show was an homage to him, and, we miss him and we love him. But this is another great reason that I wanted to talk about this and, just discuss it. There's a lot of hope now. And not just for this disease, but, technologies are changing. There's a lot of good minds out there working on some great stuff, developing some great treatments and cures,
Absolutely. I just want to say condolences on your loss, Michael.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, thank you.
And towards Blaine's comment, it's absolutely true. It's always getting better, and it's gotten so much better, and people can live long lives with HIV as HIV infected individuals if they stay on their meds and they are active in their treatment. And it's hard. I'm sure it's like a constant battle, but and obviously, if you don't have enough money, it's not going to be as easy to get the right advice. And it depends on your circumstances and how late after the first infection you start taking the meds. And there are a lot of factors that come into play. But but if it's possible to live a long life if you get treatment early on and you stay the course with the medication. But a lot of people don't have access or they have some circumstances.
Yeah,
that
that's the
prevent-
critical issue. I hope as these technologies change and as we get closer to curing the disease and treating it perfectly, that it's available for people. And that's more of an issue to me. I feel is.
And not to bring it down, but also to just keep in mind that we did start this by saying that it is on the rise in certain groups. So it's not things are better. We're better at treating it, but that doesn't mean that transmission itself is being halted or slowed down. So there are other issues involved in this beyond the technology.
Exactly.
But it's important to stay positive, as you said. I mean, it's absolutely getting. It's like now it's something that can be dealt. You can live with it, and you can live a happy life. So and before it wasn't that way. It was just like the plague. It was absolutely the scariest thing. I remember, I was born in 1980, and I guess it was just in the air. It's not an airborne virus. You can't contract it through
Not
the air.
literally in the air.
But in
Right,
the
the-
culture, the fear
And I
is
want
in
to
the air.
clarify: do not stay positive.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you for your research and the job that you're doing over there, Dan. Personally, and just filling me in on what's going on is great. And So thanks for joining us and talking about that, man. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Very cool. So, yeah, that's basically what we've come to with that is like hopefully technology will grow and get better and it'll continue to be accessible and even more accessible to people.
I kind of feel
as,
I'm
you know.
blessed. I haven't had anybody that I
Yeah.
know of stricken with it. I mean, everyone has their share of loss and
Mhm.
of different reasons, you know. But I feel I've been lucky in this respect,
Right.
you know, which I don't wish on anybody. It's really, you know, it's tough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I feel fortunate in the same way.
Yeah.
I haven't had that direct experience in my life, and yeah, it seems not like something I want to experience.
I know, right? It's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, they scare you with the stories as a kid. And
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
being really, really scared. at the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, I remember being very young and just
Yeah,
hearing
'cause-
stories and
Right? Because it was so new.
Mhm.
And you're just like, you
Yeah, the
know,
unknown and
Yeah,
therefore
And
it's
like all of a sudden, all
scarier.
the adults are taking this seriously, and we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
this is different.
There used to be a
than
thing
everything
like you do a
else.
little, you get a wart on your dick and whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but then I remember like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the
Yeah.
big one, guys.
Yeah.
And just 'cause we're right on that cusp too, growing up as this was starting, that you know,
Yeah.
like I'm sure all you guys have like uncles and grandparents and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, it was a different time. You
Yeah,
didn't
sure.
have this like huge
Yeah.
fear hanging over like sexual relations with
Yeah.
people and like. So it's a totally different era that
It
we
was
live
all
in now.
just
Yeah.
social fear back
Yeah.
then.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's what movies tell
Shotgun weddings and. Great.
Listen,
okay.
if I got to live with AIDS, then we went to the moon, okay?
Yeah.
let,
Exactly.
me, let me have that.
Yes.
All right, just
Right?
something. Just something.
Right. Give a little,
Yeah.
get a little. So we
Yeah.
have been to the moon. It was a great trip. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So.
That's how I feel about it.
Very cool. So, yeah, let's talk to Blaine a little bit here. So yeah, I want to ask you a little bit more about your pursuits in media, in comedy, communications,
Yeah.
and acting and stuff. You know,
That's
we've
a big-
collaborated, and
that's
I
a-
know you're
yeah.
always thinking. So,
Yeah,
what's up?
Well, that's a big umbrella.
I figure
I'd
the
like to
bigger
ask you
umbrella
about
I can
things.
weave
Can
at the
you
beginning.
start?
Yes. Things. Do you like them? Oh, yeah? How do you feel about stuff?
Some stuff. Let's be reasonable. Just not all stuff.
versus things. Nah,
That brings up an important point. I mean,
Yeah.
that'll make you uncomfortable.
good.
Bring you onto the set and say, hey, can you tell me about everything that's important?
Yeah.
And then somebody watching that could be comedic to them.
Could
do
be.
You, do you have
could be. Well, if my uncomfort provides any laughter.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
How often does it though?
Far
You
be
know.
it for me to deny it of you. You know.
Well, we want to
Yeah.
talk about that. Actually, the roots
Yeah.
of comedy, from ancient times. Like, where did comedy begin? How did it start?
tough.
Like its influence today, and
Well, there were two guys in a cave.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I imagine that's how it began.
Yeah, right,
You know? There had to be a third person to see the laughter in the situation.
Right.
You know,
Maybe.
when
that's
the
like
guy
the
lit
history of the
other one
world
on
with Mel
fire.
Brooks, where
Yeah,
he's doing
you know?
like banging on the toes with the Stones, and people are screaming, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious. And
Yeah. You know.
so
I mean,
comedy comes from suffering
but
from
just to
cavemen.
That's what I'm
basically.
saying. Like Blaine's discomfort, someone's pain. They have
Yeah.
rock dropped on their
Yeah.
foot.
yeah.
Does comedy come from pain? Do you believe
Oh,
that
surely.
wholly?
Yeah, it's not even like a question. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
like if you want to go into like Buddhist tenets of, life is suffering, and then, life is suffering, am I right?
Yeah, right.
that's when it's funny, when it's just someone's
Nice.
like commenting on it.
Right.
It's I don't know, it goes way back, but you can analyze it. You can determine the structure. There's people that teach it
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
if it's just like
The
trigonometry.
Four Noble Spoofs and the
Yeah.
Eightfold Path to the
Yeah.
punchline.
Yeah, don't watch that one path. It's like littered in banana peels.
Right.
You
The
know?
path to comedy.
Yeah, it's
Littered.
It's exactly right. But I don't know. It just feels like there's a structure, and then there's like what makes it what it is, and it's just like you can skim it down to like the bare bones, just like setup, punchline, straight
Mhm.
man, wild man. Like
Mhm.
you can. There's a definite skeletal structure to like.
Sounds like yin yang.
joke. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a dynamic that works.
Mm-hmm.
It's like relationships between people. Like we were talking earlier about Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Like
Love it.
that's, Yeah, like that's the basic structure of
You
it.
I gotta say, you turned me on to Laurel and Hardy maybe like 2 years ago or
Yeah.
something, and since then I can't absorb enough of
It's
it.
just-
They're the
it-
greatest comedy duo ever to
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
duo. Yeah, because it's like they're two halves of a whole.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's just like the person who's the butt of all the jokes, and there's the person who sets them all up. And the person who sets them all up, Stan, is the stupid one. And the bully, Ollie's just like a bully, like just wants to enact
But still
revenge on this,
stupid,
and
yeah.
like it just blows up in his face.
yeah.
Right.
Sometimes literally, like
Yeah.
something will blow up in his face.
Why don't you do anything to help me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's almost like a satisfaction. Like as the viewer, you'd be like, okay, I want this bully to have something blown up in his face.
Yeah, that's why you're laughing. 'cause
That's
you're
why
like,
you're
he
into
gets
it.
what it's coming to him.
right.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
Stooges, same thing. I love the Three
Yeah.
Stooges too. You
It's
know,
instant karma.
yeah.
Just like this guy's a bully.
But
to this
it's always
poor
played
sweet
out
woman.
in those like at a quick, and maybe it's just me looking back on it, and we're used to seeing something different now. But it seems so fast paced and so surreal. Like as far as I
Yeah.
know, like Dali, for example, loved the Marx Brothers.
Oh,
and like,
huge. He wrote a Marx Brothers script.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It was called a giraffe on horseback salad. And,
Great. Was it ever produced or what? It's just
no,
a,
it was
yeah.
like a 20-page script.
No, it wasn't.
Handwritten. Surprisingly enough, it wasn't. Like, so it was just like a hand-page script written, and it was ridiculous because he didn't understand the concept of humor at all.
Right.
At all. Like he just like thought they were just like brilliant, like abstract artists, and they were to
Yeah.
an extent. But like, hey, Dali, it's still funny. It's got to be funny. And like he was just writing like Chico walks into a room, laughs, exits. What? You don't even understand
Yeah.
what makes them them. But it was like and he became huge.
But to him,
friends-
that's what he drew from it.
yeah, and he got that from like he was huge friends with Harpo later.
Oh, they were hanging out and
Yeah,
stuff.
and he
oh.
sent Harpo a harp with barbed wire strings.
That's,
And,
so
Harpo-
he's in on the
Yeah,
jokes.
yeah.
He knows.
And then
yeah.
Harpo sent him a photo of him with bandages all over his fingers, pointing it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
It was just
Awesome.
great. It was just like a moment of like surrealism, but
Yeah.
both directions. He got the
That's
humor, they got
interesting.
the surrealism.
Yeah.
It's funny how that came.
Where do you think that whole lineage started? Is there something that's like at least to American audiences is there kind of like a stamp that's like that's the beginning of the produced comedy show teaming up to make you laugh?
It seems like the way we see it is like as a format, like a specific format.
Yeah.
Like even like Laurel and Hardy's a pretty I would say modern.
Mm-hmm.
Most people look at it and be like, "Oh, it's from 1915. It's not modern."
Sure, but there's a whole history of
when
like
you think of it,
vaudeville and
that's just when
stuff.
it was filmed.
Yeah.
Like, comedy's been going
Modern.
back since like
Sure.
1400s, earlier, Dark
Yeah.
Ages. You know, there's a jester in the court of the king. What purpose does that serve? Why would a king have a jester? Someone who makes the only person who can make fun of him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's like what a weird position to hold in your court.
Right.
Yeah.
Why
Right.
is there a court jester?
That's a
Get the hell
frightening
outta here.
position
at
Why
the
do-
same
why do you
time.
have a, why do you have a jester? Why
Yeah.
is there not a small claims court jester? Why is there like, where does the jester like? Why is that in a court?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Mm.
But anyway, it goes all the way back because the rulers need like a jester is nothing without a king. It needs a target,
Yeah.
you know, and and then the king also sees that he needs a release in a certain way. Like I'm pompous, I'm big, but also you can take a dig at me and I'll.
But it's almost like the
Cool, yeah.
jester's the person in between the king and the people.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah.
voice of the people at the same time.
Or even
right.
like in mythologies, like the trickster god.
Yeah. Trickster figure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like what is that?
Coyote or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the god who walked down the street with his hat was half red, half blue,
Uh-huh.
and there were people working on this side of the field and this side of the field, and he walked down and they saw the red side and they saw the green, blue side or whatever, and he said, and then he got to the end, he turned the hat around and walked back, and then the one group said, "Did you see God wearing a red hat?" And they go, "No, God was wearing a blue hat." And they're like, "No, he's wearing a red hat." And then they war.
Oh.
They kill each other, and God is just laughing. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
both saw
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Just appreciate that.
Right.
Maybe just not wearing a green hat. or
Wow, that's
whatever.
deep. Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
like just like the jester. What a strange thing for there to even be
Right.
in history. A trickster god. Like
Mhm.
what does that say about man's place in the universe? You know, that we invent a god and he just goofs on us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
But
just
when
for
you think
amusement.
about contemporary religions, like or maybe modern religions, whatever we call them, there's no trickster. There's no. Are we losing a sense of humility in that sense? Like we don't in single deity religions have that.
Well, I feel like you don't need the specific
character.
figure anymore because
Yeah.
we're all tuned into like turning everything we see into that trickster. You know, whether it's the
Yeah.
Pope or
Yeah.
George W. or whatever. Like
yeah, we've got that.
they've
role.
got a built-in like fool inside of them now that we all
Yeah.
expose.
Yeah, it's like almost we see someone in society, we identify. We know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
W, you're the fool. like we're just, we got you. pegged.
Yeah.
Maybe you're onto something. Maybe that's really what we're breeding the president into. Is he's the trickster god of our nation.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, just combine the king with the court jester
Yeah.
together as
'Cause
one.
how often do we refer to
and
the
just
president?
take the attention of the people watching the fool
Seriously.
dance around,
Yeah.
but still having the power behind there.
Yeah.
Yeah, half the people see him as a legitimate leader, and the other half see him as the idiot.
Yeah,
You
that's
both
what's
saw a
happening.
leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be happy
That's
you
the
saw a
role.
leader.
You just
Wow,
appreciate
interesting.
that.
Very
You
interesting.
know?
That's totally accurate to what's going on right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
But in terms of like going way back to like ridiculously olden days, you got in Italy the Commedia dell'arte, which they were like looking at specific roles in society like
Uh-huh.
that. So they'd be like, there's the fool, there's the bully, there's the protagonist, there's the female lead. Like they had
Sounds like a tarot deck.
it was exactly yeah it was like archetypes.
Yeah.
And then they would say, you are this person, you are that person. So that's why when you watch, like, Laurel and Hardy, there's, like, the bully and then the weak figure.
Right.
And then there's, like, even in Three Stooges, it's not specifically, like, a duo, but it's a three-person team. But there's definitely a leader,
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about Laurel and Hardy. They were just, like, it was, they were both idiots, but it was accepted that one was in charge.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
It
Like,
wasn't like
just-
smart and dumb. It was like,
yeah, and the dumb
who's
or the dumb
bigger?
one was just like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, you're the boss.
yeah.
But everything blew up in the boss's face
Right.
as a result of the naivete of the dumb one.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see that. You see that play out even like today, like in certain movies. There's a two-person scene or whatever where they establish the pecking order, who's in charge and who's not, and the boss looks like an idiot. You know what I mean? It's just like that dynamic still works.
Yeah.
And we'll just always work. It feels, that's the way we've always done it because there's something in us that responds to that on a certain level, and I just feel like that's the way it's kind of gonna always be.
Yeah.
Because that's the way we respond to that.
Unless comedians seek more abstract ways of I don't know of structuring the comedy. I mean, have you heard of? Is there anything that's really new, that's really groundbreaking in the field?
Yeah, and the format itself of delivery.
Yeah, well, it's all changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all like everything. It's a really weird time.
But
right
it
now.
seems to me like the guys that are really on top, like Louis C.K. or something, that are on top of the stack
Yeah.
right now, they're kind of obeying this traditional, like they're really putting their thumb on this is the real core and the nerve
Yeah.
of what's traditional about
Yeah.
comedy. And he really goes for that thing that like the smile and the laugh of recognition where he
Yeah.
says something and you're just on it because that was that embarrassing thing that you
Yeah.
couldn't confess
Well, that's
or
like
whatever.
like they had the Mark Twain Prize, and they delivered every year to some comedian. And there's only a couple that I love just about everyone who's ever received it.
Uh-huh.
But there's only a
Who
couple.
are some past winners? I don't know.
Like Steve Martin and
Oh, great.
like I don't know, Billy Crystal or something. You know what I mean? Like they
Mhm.
give them to comedians over time. But the first one who ever got it, or George Carlin. The first
Mhm.
one who ever got it though was Richard Pryor got the Mark Twain.
Oh, great. Yeah,
and
he's great.
that was like it was posthumous,
Uh-huh.
obviously. But like if anyone deserved it, that's the guy. Because like that's one of those things where you're just like, it's like Louis C.K. If anyone's gonna get one, I hope it's him, just because there's the recognition in the other yourself.
Yes.
And that's what seems to work about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it becomes
Like-
more than comedy. It
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
philosophy and
Yeah, like Richard.
spirituality.
Like I
It's
listened.
very relatable as
Yeah.
opposed to just being funny.
Yeah, that's like you can go a couple minutes without a laugh,
Mhm.
which is okay.
Yeah.
Not always okay.
Yeah, because you're getting the human story or something. You're still with
you're
him in
feeling
some
like
narrative.
The thread. Like when you like Richard Pryor. I was a kid, white kid, suburbs of Philadelphia, and I had records, and I would listen to these records, and I used to have a whole bunch of comedy records. But like there was Richard Pryor, and that's so weird that I would find that funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a white kid from the suburbs of Philadelphia, middle class, like should have no connection to a man who grew up in Peoria, Illinois, as the son of like someone who owned a brothel. You know what I mean? Like and used to rob people and hit them over the head for their money. Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
why do I have a connection to this guy? But he was just so talented. He's just so, like, oh, yeah, I've been there. Like, he hit it. You know, he hit
Yeah.
home with so many people, which is really, really difficult. And that's why I appreciate that. Like, I personally, I can't do, like, I don't have that in me. Like, when it comes to performance, like, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how someone can do that. Like, you got your Louis C.K. who's just, like, lays it all bare. Richard Pryor talking about ODing on, like, freebasing. You know, like, how do you say that to a crowd? You're looking
Yeah.
up, and there's lights in your face, and you're
And
looking
you got
at
a whole
1,000
crowd
people.
right there just saying,
And
I
you're
know
just
what you
telling
mean.
Yeah,
Even though they don't
feed
know
it
what
back,
you mean. They have no
know?
idea.
You know?
I'm sure a lot of them aren't freebasing.
No.
But, you know, they get where he's going with it
Yeah.
because of the way he's putting it.
Like, I've never done it. But I feel like I know it just through, like, the prism of his life.
Do you think that that maybe when you have that honesty in comedy, or I guess I should put it this way, do you feel like that's a direction that comedy is going right now? Like, just really, like, opening up. It's kind of like confessional comedy.
It feels like it's breaking down. Like, even on an ironic level, when you're like alternative comics, like, clearly acknowledge that they're setting up a joke. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like, well, then now it's meta. Now you're outside of it, and you're commenting on your own joke in
Yeah.
a certain way. So it's just like, listen, me and you, we're on the level, right? I'm just gonna tell a joke, you know. And it just gets to that point where it's so outside. Like, I feel it needs to even get back into where it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel we need more Louis C.K.'s. I feel we need more people who are really, like, not being ironic, just total.
Yeah.
Delivering a show almost, you know, like presenting something to you
Mhm.
instead of just like the laid back attitude.
Right,
You know, just
That's
like,
true.
this is me, this is my attitude. Like, I'm just like, I'm above it all. Like, no, put on a shirt and a tie, go out. You're performing for these people, you know? Let them get their money's worth. Like, I feel
Mel
like
Brooks also has that bit about the stand-up philosopher. When in History of the World, he's like, what his role
Yeah.
as a philosopher, but
Yeah.
stand-up comedy was that back in the day.
That's what's her name? B. Arthur. Oh, bullshit artist. And she
Oh yeah, he's trying to get money from the state.
yeah, he's on welfare.
Yeah,
Stand-up philosopher.
awesome.
That's so funny.
One of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Mel Brooks got it, you know,
Mhm.
and it was hit and miss for some of them. But, like, you look at something like Young Frankenstein or Blazing Saddles, came out in the same year. Like, what a huge year for that guy.
Wow, yeah.
I wish that year.
Mhm.
You know, that's amazing. Young Frankenstein is hilarious. It's surreal. It takes
Yeah.
the form of another medium, which is kind of cool. And I always appreciated that of him. That was kind of his artsy move, but you don't think of that movie as being that way, you know. But,
Mhm.
like, he's just like kind of demanded a black and white film that looked like a 1930s monster movie,
Yeah.
you know, which is
Very cool.
like
yeah.
for a studio to even say, yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll
Th-
try it.
Yeah, like, well, you just had the movie with the farting around the campfire. Like, get more of that, please. You know, like more of that.
We like that. We'd like some more.
Yeah, just some more of that. Louder, maybe. Who knows? Try a few things out. Just not black and white. But yeah, Young Frankenstein.
That's great. Yeah.
Mel Brooks. They just had a retrospective of his life on PBS. It was pretty great. They
Mm.
like, you know, they chart his progress.
Do you have a favorite Mel Brooks film?
I mean, Young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein?
is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like, Blazing Saddles is cool, and another Richard Pryor wrote on that. Like, by the way.
Oh yeah.
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 And I think he wanted to get Richard Pryor for the lead, but Warner Brothers was like, no, thank you. No. He's got
We're
Cliff on the
just
middle.
this progressive.
Yeah. And apparently they brought him in to write all the black humor, and he was not, like, didn't gravitate towards that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just wrote the Mungo stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like,
Awesome.
What a weird thing.
Where he
thought
punches
that
a
was
horse?
Yeah.
Is that Richard Pryor's
Yeah,
bit? Like
yeah,
him
he's
punching a
just
horse?
Like, Mungo only pawn in Game of Life. You know, like, that was Richard Pryor.
Wow, cool.
You know? Like, what a weird thing.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. Thought they'd write all the other stuff just to get in on it.
Awesome.
But that's good. But yeah, there's like there's highs and lows and periods, it seems like.
So what do you think about now, today? You know, 2013, 14, 15? Where are we?
Today,
13?
I'll 13, please.
Okay.
I'll get off here.
2013.
Yeah.
What's the best right now?
I mean, right now, like, let's just say you're in the heyday, or maybe, I don't know. We got to see. But like
Mhm.
Will Ferrell, the biggest thing right now.
Oh, he's just looking at him makes me laugh.
I thought of this. He's the Jerry Lewis of the day.
Yeah.
That's all he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a big baby man child in all these things,
Yeah.
goofing off and like getting to play and experiment, which is great
Mhm.
for him. And it's good. It's enjoyable for everybody. You know, it's like it's nice.
Cool.
You know, because you're a legitimate talent and you're doing really funny stuff. And
Yeah.
I wish you the best of success.
Exactly. And I've heard all the stories of other actors working with him on set and just being like, they can barely do their jobs. He's so funny. It's
Yeah.
like there's a level of like, no, we're trying to make this amount of funny, and
Yeah.
you're just off the chart. You know.
I used to work at a costume shop for a while, a couple years, and he
Like
came-
a Halloween kind of.
yeah, like a costume
Yeah.
shop in New
Uh-huh.
York, you know. And he came in with Molly Shannon from SNL.
Whoa.
They were, I guess, they're friends,
Okay.
and they came in together. And he was like, "Hey, you got any of those big foam cowboy hats?"
Uh huh.
I go, "Yeah, we got one." What color you want? And he's like, "Blue." So I was like, "All right, let me go." So I'm like, "Let me go get you a big blue foam cowboy hat." So
Right.
I did.
Awesome.
So he puts it on. He's looking at himself in the mirror, you know, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, all right, I'll buy it." So he buys it. He leaves. That was it. Years go by.
Yeah.
Years go by. I'm watching Charlie Rose, and he's on Charlie Rose talking about the making of Anchorman. He goes, "I go into the meeting to pitch the movie. I'm wearing a big blue foam cowboy
Oh
hat."
my God! Really? Wow. That I got from Blaine Kneece.
No, he didn't say it. I was so upset. I was so upset.
There was
But
this nice guy at the store, and he was like, "Which color do you want?"
yeah, you know, and I was like, "Blue, definitely blue, guy.
Wow.
You're gonna get movies made with that hat."
That's funny.
And then but that was cool. He called it out on TV. I'm like, "I sold him that hat.
That's cool.
I sold him the Anchorman hat."
You know that shit has already sold on eBay for like $300 or
Oh
something.
yeah,
A signed giant blue foam cowboy hat, signed by Will Ferrell.
yeah. Imagine that you work for a movie studio and Will Ferrell just walks in wearing a big blue foam cowboy hat. You're like, "Here, make a movie."
Yep, here's some cash. That's
Yeah.
great. Is Will Ferrell his real name? Do we know? Does anybody know?
I think so.
I think so.
That's such a like a feral child or something. It's like a wild, like
I
Billy
never thought of it that
Farrell.
way.
Yeah.
He had claws. I did notice that.
Oh,
about
okay,
him
yeah,
when I
yeah.
saw him, yeah.
You gotta watch out for a guy like
Yeah.
that. He'll make you laugh till you die. So
Yeah. But he's like where we are now, which is pretty cool. I like
yeah,
it.
He's absurd. He's an
Yeah.
absurd person. I mean, if we're gonna go back to what we were talking about before, we have comedy that is gonna have a sort of absurd factor to it, and then there's that sort of related to real life kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
we see a lot of it mixing together, and I think that's where we find oh, that happened in my life, and it's absurd.
But
To me,
the-
that's what I'm laughing
but
at a lot
that's
of the
the
time.
trigger in your life. You're like, isn't that absurd that
Right.
happened
Yeah.
to you? You know,
Yeah.
like that's all it is.
And almost like
Let's
when
tell
somebody
that
comes to me
story.
and
It's a
says,
connection between
this
us
thing that
all,
you're
you know?
totally comfortable with, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And you're like, wow, you're right. I am crazy.
Yeah. You feel those things, you know? It's like, I mean, you look at like even going way back to like Chaplin and Buster Keaton and those guys like all from the 1920s, which is really because it's the first time that it was filmed. Like
Yeah.
they were really putting it out there as like a idea.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that's, I don't know. That's
like
why
a
they're huge.
watershed kind of.
Yeah, it's just huge. And then watching people find their footing and figuring out what works on film and what doesn't as a joke, even.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Chaplin's he's got all dramatic themes. He's very there's a lot of heart to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's like he lays down an emotional foundry and then he plays out these jokes on top of it.
Uh huh.
Whereas you get guys like Buster Keaton, who's totally stone face.
Yeah.
He's got no emotion, no
Yeah.
reaction whatsoever. His reaction when something crazy happens, just maybe look away for a second. That's about it. You know, and then you got these like, yeah, and like it's weird because during that time they were doing theater acting, like big over the top stuff, and then it was just like, let's bring it down. The camera will catch it. I swear.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you don't have to
Let's
like
embrace the subtlety here.
you
for a
don't have to
minute.
sell it. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. It's they were getting it all out there though. They were laying down the foundations for as to where it goes and what works in general. And you could see the absurdity. You could see surrealist stuff
Mm-hmm.
that was humorous. You know, like it's not like Chaplin could always happen, kinda. You know what I mean? Like it was unlikely that those things would happen, but he performed them live, and it was like, it just feels like it was in the real world. It was kind of grounded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get other stuff which goes out of bounds, which gets weirder, and it's difficult to relate to. you get stuff like when you get later to like Jerry Lewis is like a cartoon, like a living cartoon.
Yeah. Well, continuing that and extending that to today, now we have all the like strange, the Adult Swim stuff and the stuff that's like so absurd that it's like it's like extremely. It's like the whole point is to be so absurd it's extreme and like, oh my God, look how crazy.
You know, it's hilarious. Kung Fu Hustle.
I do like that. Yes,
Kung Fu
that's
Hustle
really cool.
is a
yeah.
Looney Tune.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon, man.
But the cinematography and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it's
way
great.
it's
It-
admirable.
It works. It's like so leaps and bounds of
Yeah.
what we're doing.
But that's in a direct lineage of actually the history of kung fu films themselves and how
Sure.
they've changed. And it's like a legitimate kung fu film.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't consider it that because it's using CGI and stuff.
Yeah,
but
it completely works
yeah,
on both levels.
that's where kung fu stands today, and the comedy behind it, like it's coming together. Which is another thing. Of course, comedy is one of those genre-bending things that can go in any little nook and cranny, and
Yeah, you could take it in different ways. I mean, we're at a point where we can do like serious drama within comedy and vice versa.
Oh, like Ricky Gervais' Office or something like that.
Yeah,
or
that's like
Yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
newer
I mean, a
form.
sitcom a lot of the time tends to be like a short dramedy these days. It's just they're always mixing the drama and the comedy, and they're always
Yeah.
finishing with the drama.
Well,
and they're
that
having the
always
comedy
happened
in the middle.
in shows before, right?
Yeah.
Like the old WKRP in Cincinnati when Johnny Fever looks into the
Very
camera and
special
says like,
Yeah.
"Hey, now let me give you the whole
Yeah.
trip about what
Yeah.
radio DJs are dealing with today."
Yeah.
Like,
But I
and
mean,
it got so
you're
serious for a
always gonna
moment.
have
Yeah.
the absurd decline of the narrative, and then like the serious, the dramatic resolution of it. I find in a lot of things called comedy these days.
Mhm.
I'm actually really appreciative of when they don't feel the need to resolve the story when it goes to something horrible and it remains horrible, and maybe it was funny along the way.
Yeah.
Or maybe the other way
Yeah.
around.
I agree. Yeah, I like that stuff too. And that reminds me of something Louis C.K. said on his television show. Louis, he said, "Well, what if this idea for a movie he had is like, what if the guy just something bad things just keep happening to him, and then his wife leaves him, and he's like crashed in
right,
the
yeah.
apartment, and then like something else bad happens to him, and it just keeps going that way, and it never gets better." And the producer walked away from him.
Yeah.
And she just sat with some other people and,
Yeah.
and just ignored him. He was sitting alone at the table trying to figure out what he should do.
Yeah.
It was
But he's basically talking about his own show that he's
Yeah.
made millions of dollars and been like a super inspiration for a lot of other comedians
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you think about it. Like I think of Adaptation a lot, the Charlie Kaufman movie.
Yeah.
With Spike Jonze directed it. Just like when he goes to the film writing seminar, and he asks Robert McKee, the screenwriting guru, or whatever, wrote a book like how to write screenplays, and he's just like, he asks a question. He's like, well, what if there's a movie where nothing ever happens? And he just goes berserk on him, He's just like, why are you wasting my time? 2 hours of my life if nothing happens,
Oh, man. That's Adaptation, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He's just like, look at life out there. Life is happening.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that movie. Yeah, that's a great part too.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah. Nick Cage.
Yeah, doing some work.
Yeah, at his,
Yeah,
at
good
his
guy.
Finest.
Even when he's terrible, you gotta like his stuff. Like I love when he's putting in he's just cashing a check. 'Cause you're like, all right, here you go. What are you gonna do for me now?
Yeah.
Right.
He's just putting on a show.
Yeah, that's totally true.
I gotta pay off some comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when he doesn't care. He's really just.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll just throw it out there.
Well, that sums it up too. I think Nicolas
man.
Cage in the world of comedy.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
We can call it that if you want to. Yeah. That'll sum it up right there.
awesome.
Next week's episode, cage match.
Cage match. Cool. So yeah, thanks for talking with us,
Yeah.
and
Cool. Yeah.
we'll have you back and hopefully talk about more projects in the future and
Yeah, that'd be fun.
different things that are going on. We're gonna wrap up right now. Anyway, if anybody's still tuned in with us, thank you guys for hanging out and talking with us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're
that's
going to
good
wrap
stuff.
everything up now with a little musical performance. Totally another impromptu, completely improvised. We're going to put a little audio thing together now. And so I'd like to invite out Fumio Tashiro and Brandon White, who are going to help us do this.
Yes.
And we've got a couple things set up here.
Sulphurbath, man.
And
Yes, the
yeah,
Sulphurbath
impromptu improv. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
If you want, you get these guys.
And So I'm gonna keep saying something so that there's no dead air,
You know what I'm saying?
and we're simply getting ready for
So yeah, a lot of good things. we
cue the
talked
theme
about here
music.
tonight.
Yeah,
Mike?
yeah, we did. We covered a lot of good grounds, I think.
I think a lot of positive outcomes with what we discussed tonight.
Yeah,
a lot of,
yeah,
a
exactly.
lot of hope, I would say. Maybe
Exactly.
that's
And
the
what's
theme
more
for our
hopeful than
episode today.
bringing happiness to humans through, curing and treating disease,
Yeah.
comedy, and bringing art and music to people. Like I personally think that's
bringing
healing therapy.
realistic, absurdity of life accounts to people, because I think some of us get the benefit of experiencing certain things earlier because someone else will produce them and say, this is what life's like. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's kind of amazing that we are in an age where we can really consume that
Mhm.
to
Where other people
whatever-
are sitting around
whatever
saying, "Hey,
sense
my
we
life
want
is
to.
absurd too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
right.
The clock is melting.
There's 7 billion absurdities now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So cool,
At last count.
Yeah.
right? And going. Done with June, done with moon.
The Jester. Saw a real cool cat walking down the street, slapping his fingers against his thighs, looking at a fine filly. Never seen anything like it. Looking at the universe like, wow, man.
We were walking down a back alley.
It's a real
We
thrill.
could see it clear as day as soon as we turned the corner.
Empire State
It wasn't
Building,
peace. It
looking
wasn't
like
exactly war.
looking like a piece of chicken.
Something in between. It was an orange fox with a white
Stabbing up
tail,
against the sun.
screaming through
It's
the
a
streets
real
of London.
crazy trip.
And tripping it would be but a mammal, and with iron blood,
He talked to me, man. He asked
telling
me
me,
what I was
teasing
on.
me, showing me where to go.
I said I'm on a real sick
Could it be a
trip.
dormitory? Could it be a hostel? Could it be a hotel? It was one of these, and my luggage spread amongst. Couldn't tell which way.
Skipping around like a bag of flowers.
And I'll lay my head down easily. I'll scream to the sky and tell it what to do and how to reign.
He said,
How
man,
to
what kind of
pour
trip
my
are you
soul
on?
away.
I said, I'm on a real sick trip, baby.
And a butter sick trip, as I could recall. It wasn't too bad, it wasn't too green. But carrying on with boats and waves would bring us some spectacle, don't you think?
Man came up to me and asked me, ABC?
1, 2, 3. Give it away. It could be counted in your wallet or on your back.
Empire State Building looking like a dildo. Stepping up into the sun.
And stepping up to Carl Jung was in New York City, Manhattan, swaying through the sky, the giant phallus leaning deep to the empires of mind. Preaching and beating and told him what he was saying. He told to watch it away, and what it would then unfold as it was when you did the one which is telling me. Tell me, tell me. You'll be the one who is sitting away. Would you be the one to tell me? It's all.
Everybody taking poetry classes inside of a toilet.
And it's 802, it's free, and 910 ingrained until a mausoleum was flown. We were hired to retire. Could it be velvet rubber blows from the boat to the tire? We're irresponsible like most, and my heart is on fire. We break it anyway. My dream is a value drawer, and I filed it away, 'cause dreaming is a bore. I haven't been real since I was born. I haven't felt steel from a storm. before you sleep tonight, if you have joined us at the minute hand, there could be no greater delight than holding my virtual hands. So dream with me apart, because the end of my heart. We follow it back. Cool. That was awesome. That was really great. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Let's interrupt that with more common talking, like how humans normally talk.
Yes, this is how humans talk. Is this correct?
That is a little bit like some humans talk that way, but not the
Good
ones I
on
usually talk to.
passing.
So that was very unique, intricate, and interesting jam. Thank you, Fumio. Thank you, Daniel. We wanted to wrap the show up with just some very interesting kind of improvisational music, and that was it. And
I'm glad that you feel confident to call it interesting.
yeah,
Not
that
to toot your
I've
own
been
horn or anything.
yeah,
but
no,
I
I was
found it very interesting.
I was highly interested in it. Yes.
That's our opinion.
And
so
you know, just
we're-
like
we
deep
don't really
listening,
think
like
that you're
classical
definitely
music, when you deep listen. There's so many things going on. You have to really pay key attention to what's happening. And
Yeah.
so that's what I was doing
Nobody's
right
dumb
there.
enough
And
to think
so
that's improvised, though. I was
one of
clearly
these
reading
days,
that
a
off
piece
the
will be
sheet.
made as
Yeah.
good.
No way, Jose.
I was playing
Cool.
the same thing I played yesterday. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was kind of in the yesterday jam, just thinking about it. I was like,
Yeah,
hey,
was
we were.
it? I
we
didn't
were-
hear it.
Oh, well, we'll play it for you in a bit. Maybe we should play yesterday's show on a monitor right here for today's shows, people.
It'd be very meta, and then we could play yesterday's show, playing yesterday's show.
Every show,
tomorrow.
we should play all the
Yesterday's show
previous
playing
shows.
Tune in
yesterday's show
tomorrow
playing
for today's
yesterday's
show.
No, not just yesterday's shows,
We'd be
but
playing the first show each time, but we'd be showing it through the lens of each show.
yes, but yeah, like an infinite kind of loop, like when you're
very-
videotaping a monitor.
Yeah.
But
That
so
would
every
be
show will have
time-consuming.
all of the previous shows inside that show as well.
It's an interesting idea for another kind of show. You film like 1 second, and then the next day you talk about that 1 second, and then the next day you talk about that 3 seconds to talk about the 1
Right.
second.
I think by episode 20 though, you'd have just putrid video, and you'd be like, "There's our video from
Putrid video.
putrid video." Nice. Maybe that's what we should call the show.
Yeah.
Putrid video.
Sulphurbath. I don't know. Putrid
Yes.
video.
Welcome to the Sulphurbath,
Yeah.
where we concentrate on putrid video.
Yes, welcome to
Yeah.
Upchuck Nightly.
The whole point of this thing is upchuck and alchemy. That's
Oh,
what. Maybe that's what you should call it. Upchuck and alchemy. You know.
I had dinner there last night.
Putrid. Putrid
Oh,
video.
putrid alchemy.
Mm.
Just forget alchemical putrosity.
Putrid.
What was the
cells.
Alan Partridge thing again? It's like,
What
when we
is
saw
it?
the Alan
Dad.
Partridge thing. The other thing was like he said the
Colossal velocity.
colossal velocity.
Colossal velocity.
So huge Alan Partridge fans
Travel
take part in this show that we're making tonight, and so
Colossal
we want to
velocity.
just say hello to Steve Coogan out there and say thank you for.
For probably not tuning in, but please.
Mm.
I
You
understand
did.
if he doesn't, though. There's a lot on the internet.
There's a lot. There's
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yes.
Yes.
There's
That was sweating lunatic
Massive.
Annie Lennox. I mixed two of them right there, actually.
Yeah.
He
No,
was,
that was good.
It
It
was
was a
sweating lunatic
melange.
Iggy Pop, right?
Yeah.
What was the Annie Lennox one? Can you do
Who's
it?
that beautiful blonde man? It's Annie Lennox.
Yeah, that's good. What was the police one? That was the police, or as they're now known, Sting. Hilarious. Thanks, Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we just are finishing the show, and thank you
Yeah.
guys. We're gonna go on the metadata right now and find out how many of you out there tuned in to
And,
watch us. So we're
thanks
gonna know.
Fumio, and thanks Dan, and thanks Brandon, and thanks Blaine.
Fumio Tashiro,
And,
Dan Marco. Thanks, Dan Marco. Thanks for talking to us about HIV research. Fumio Tashiro. I know I'm just reading what you just said, but I'd say I'm including the last name also. So. And Billy? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you want to show Billy a little
Yeah,
bit?
as long as you're including
Go
last
show
names,
the
what's
camera.
Billy's
Let's
last
introduce
name?
Billy to the world. Do you want to say something, Bill?
Billy Wilson.
Billie Holiday.
No, she's not interested in saying anything now. But we want to show the world.
so
Normally
Billy.
very
That's so
talkative.
Billy.
Yeah, she's for some reason she gets shy in front of the camera.
Well,
But anyway, thank you guys
She's
very
got
much for
cat
joining
opinions
us
anyway.
and having a good show. And thank you,
job.
Blaine Kneece, very much
Good
for talking to us about the history of comedy and hanging
Yes.
out. And I hope to actually have all you guys back on for future shows so that we
Yeah.
can.
This is my last show.
Yeah. Really? Is it?
This
We
is
just
the
got
pilot
started.
and we've
I'll
been
think about it
canceled.
tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll call you tomorrow too,
I
and be
quit.
like, yeah, yep,
I quit, Mike.
yeah.
No, we're good.
You could always
We're good.
phone it in.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, let's set up a phone.
Just
Yeah.
Tape it
do
to
a
the
voice
microphone,
control
yeah.
recording, and we'll just all
Yeah.
hold your iPhone here and just be like, "Yeah, Mike, I don't agree."
Yeah.
What up?
That'll be
Yeah.
the
I'm gonna do my next segment live
Mike,
via
by the way, I
satellite from
quit
the other
over
room.
the phone.
yeah, right. Exactly. We'll hook up a whole other connection. You can be
Yeah,
live from the bathroom.
Live via satellite from
Yeah.
the rooftop.
I don't know. We'll see how tomorrow goes. So
But
we'll
for
be-
now,
we'll be back then, right?
yeah. Well,
Tomorrow?
well, I don't know about tomorrow.
Tomorrow or later.
So far, this is a daily show,
Yeah.
and we
so
did it
far these
yesterday
past 2
and
days,
today.
we've been doing them
So
daily.
2 shows daily. But yeah, we'll send out emails
That's
and
2 in a
hopefully
row.
invite everybody back for next week and have another show. So I guess we should
Thanks
say
for
goodbye
tuning in.
now. Yes, thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
Thank y'all.